So I'm recording this on the day before I am set to leave the hike. Actually, I'm recording this about 14 hours before I'm scheduled to leave. I have to say, I am really, really excited about doing this hike. Look, I'm not oblivious to the fact that this is one of the 5 hardest hikes in North America. I'm not oblivious to the fact that people have died on this trail this season trying to complete the rim to rim. I'm not oblivious to the fact that at 71, at my age, I'm probably 3 standard deviations above the average age of people who do this hike. In fact, one of my oldest friends called me a dopey B word for even trying this hike. But I have to say this, I have trained diligently and in a very disciplined manner all summer long. I don't think I could be in better shape than I am now, and I just really feel like this is a hike that I can do and complete. I'm gonna give myself probably around maybe 14 hours to do the hike, but I'm ready to go, and I can't wait to get started. So here we are at the epilogue, and I warn you in advance, this is probably going to be a little bit on the long side. The night before the hike, I almost canceled the entire hike. As you saw at the first video, I was really pretty excited about taking this hike. And about 2 hours after I finished that first video, when I was up on the North Rim, the day before the hike, I spoke with a backcountry ranger. And it was a very dispiriting and very disheartening conversation that we had. Essentially what he told me was that the training I had done the entire summer was going to be of very limited value, and that the game plan that I had mapped out to succeed on this hike was at best courting failure and at worst courting disaster. He told me that the trail had been eating hikers all season, that they had a record number of helicopter rescues they had to make off the hike, off that trail this year. Wasn't even sure exactly how many people had died on the trail this year. And was just really, really discouraging in his conversation. And it really set up a quandary for me for a couple of reasons. One of them is I didn't want to be that guy. You know, that guy who has never done a hike like this before, but thinks somehow he knows more about it than the experts. And this backcountry ranger that I spoke to had completed the rim to rim hike more than a dozen times. And I just wasn't sure what to do. I certainly didn't want to embark on this hike and make my wife a widow, although she's pretty attractive. It probably wouldn't have taken her very long to replace me. But I didn't want to embark on this hike to be someone who needed to get rescued. And so I actively considered canceling the hike. But the more I pondered it, I saw that I had 4 advantages that the backcountry ranger just simply was not willing to acknowledge. The first advantage was in my clothing, and I had a bright white shirt, long sleeve shirt, and a bright white hat, which are both designed to reflect the sun and minimize the amount of heating that your clothing absorbs, thus heating your body. The second advantage that I had is that I had been training all summer at the altitude the worst part of the hike was going to occur at. All summer long, I was training between 5,000 and 7,500 feet. And on the rim to rim trail, the ascent, that's where the worst part of the hike occurs. The third advantage that I had was that all summer long, I had been carrying an 18-pound pack on my back. And for this particular hike, I had pared that weight down to 6 pounds. So my legs, my knees, were prepared to carry 10 pounds more on the uphill section of the hike than they were going to be required to carry on this hike. And the fourth issue, and I think this is really a significant issue, is that I am a hot weather hiker. For me, my sweet spot when I hike is between 93 and 97 degrees. By the way, that cold front that was projected to reach the Grand Canyon never reached the Grand Canyon. The high in the Phantom Ranch down at the bottom of the canyon was expected to be close to 100 degrees on the day I did the hike. But I'm a hot weather hiker. I like hot weather hiking. And so after pondering it for a while and discussing it with my wife, I decided to go ahead with the hike. And my wife, who listened to the conversation, had an observation. And her observation was that this backcountry camper looked at a 71-year-old hiker and just doubted his ability to make this very strenuous hike based on his age and not based on his training and capabilities. So I decided to take on the hike in spite of the strong admonition against it from the backcountry ranger, and I'm really glad I did. The hike was a great experience. I very, very much enjoyed myself. I'm not trying to suggest that it wasn't a very, very vigorous hike, and I'm not trying to say that it wasn't a very challenging hike, but I had trained well. And I had trained hard throughout the entire summer, as I said before. And my training really, really came through for me. One of the things that I thought was really interesting was that I was really kind of dreading that downhill section of the hike. There's a 7-mile downhill that people who had done the hike were just saying, this is really, really a tough bit of business. And so I worked hard on my knees over the summer, and I got through that downhill. Frankly, quite easily. And my knees were not stressed when I got through that downhill, nor were my quads or my hamstrings. After the downhill, theoretically, you're on 7 miles of flat land from Cottonwood Campground over to the Phantom Ranch, but the truth of the matter is that it's not flat at all. It's just a more gradual. Most of it is just more of a gradual downhill than you experience coming down from the North Rim. Now, from a injury standpoint, for lack of a better term, I'm filming this 3 days after I've come off the hike because I wanted to really get a sense of how my body felt in recovery. And I got through the hike without any blisters whatsoever. Actually, that's not true. I did get one blister, but the blister was on my left hand, and it was a blister I picked up from the poles that I was using to get down the mountain, up and down the mountain. But no blisters on my feet. I changed my socks twice on the trail, and my feet held up very well. I'm not going to lose any toenails either as a result of this, as a result of the hike. The only problem I actually had, a physical problem I actually had, occurred about 4 hours after I got off the trail. I was laying in bed, and I got this tremendous cramp in my left hamstring. Actually kind of seized up my leg. I don't know why. I wasn't doing anything. I was actually, just laying in bed. But it was a bad one. It was a bad cramp. So I took 2 aspirins and put some muscle cream on my left hamstring, and did some massaging and was able to get it to loosen up. And my body responded very well to this hike. The next day I was tired, but I actually wound up hiking about 2 miles that day because my wife wanted to see some different parts of the park that we needed to hike to get these vistas. That'll be in another video. And my legs have held up relatively well. I've been tired every day since all 3 days that have occurred. The night of the hike, I slept for 10 hours. The second night, I slept for 9 hours. So I've been sleeping a lot, and I've also been napping during the day. But overall, I'm feeling really, really good, surprisingly good. And I think it's probably only going to take me maybe about 5 days to recover from this hike. So, pretty pleased with what happened. A couple things happened on the hike which were kind of curious. One of the things that happened was I didn't eat that much on the hike, which was really surprising because I was on the trail for 14 hours. I never really got that hungry. The only other thing I want to add to the epilogue was I was really surprised about the trail coming down from the North Rim. It was really kind of an interesting experience. I was able to get about an hour of sunlight from the full moon, not enough for me to be able to video, but it painted the canyon in almost like a moonscape type light, which was really, really beautiful. And then I was in darkness for probably an hour and a half, requiring the full use of my headlamp. And initially I thought it was kind of fun, but after 20 minutes, that gets old. It just gets, because honestly, you're in inky blackness, and all you can see is 15 feet in front of you that your headlight is illuminating. I was telling some people it's kind of like put a treadmill in a closet, turn out the lights, close the door, put on a headlamp, and that's what it's like to hike in the dark. Yeah, it got old for me pretty quick. Fortunately, we started to get into pre-dawn at about 5:30, and then from there the light continued to increase, and I could just see the magnificence of the canyon when I was as I progressed through it. So all in all, it turned out to be a great experience, and glad I did it, and pretty proud of myself to be able to take on this hike. I talked to a number of people on the hike, that were doing the hike, both going and coming, and I would estimate that the average age of the people that I saw on the hike, the average age was probably maybe 31, maybe 32. I did meet one fellow on the hike who was 48, but it was, when I told people I was 71, they were astonished that I was taking on that hike. But with the proper training and the proper attitude and the proper effort. Oh, one other thing I wanted to say before I close, which was really pretty amazing, was I couldn't sleep the night before. I did not get a second of sleep. Which, isn't really the best way to start a hike, but it didn't hamper me at all. But boy, I would love to have taken that hike and a good night's sleep. So that's the end of our epilogue, and can't tell you how much I enjoyed the hike. Can't tell you the beauty. You'll see it. You saw it in the videos, just how spectacular the hike was. Man, that was really something. And I am just so happy that I did not let the backcountry ranger talk me out of it. But my wife had said a couple of other things too. She said, we didn't know what the frame of reference was that this backcountry ranger was coming from. We don't know how many rescues he may have had to deal with on that trail. So maybe he thought he was looking out for me by being so discouraging with his feedback. But in the end, I guess I want to say two things. One, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that thinks he knows more than the experts. but also don't sell yourself short when you have worked so hard to try and accomplish a goal. So, hope you enjoyed this epilogue. There will be a number of other tapes or a number of other videos coming regarding the Grand Canyon experience. I hope you'll stay tuned for them. And got through it. As I said to my friends, I sent them out a video, and I said, tough hike, did not die. And pretty happy that things turned out the way that they did.